Morning, guys. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone is doing amazing. It is the 27th of August, and this is your daily market outlook for today. Before we get into the charts, understand that the content on this YouTube channel is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Any past performances discussed does not guarantee future results. You are responsible for your own financial decisions. So, news today, Thursday the 27th, we've got no red folder news at all. Tomorrow, we obviously have Canadian dollar red folder news, which is the GDP. And then we also have US dollar red folder news. Fed Chairman Walsh speaks at 4 p.m. So again, tomorrow is more so a red folder news day. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Going into today's daily market outlook, we've still, let's be honest, still been consolidating. It seems like a repetitive thing at this moment in time with the US dollar. How many times have we looked back? We've just been consolidating, before moving away, consolidating before moving away, consolidating before moving away. It's been a repetitive thing. We obviously went through this, which was nearly 2 weeks, I think, of just consolidation before this moved down. And at this moment in time, all week we've been inside of this daily demand area pretty much. If you look from last Thursday to obviously today, it's 7 days of just market consolidation. So, as you guys will know, and as you guys will have already heard me say, we either just want to see market break above, or we want to see market break out of this area and carry on downwards. Now, again, not much more to discuss on the facts of the daily time frame. Ideally, it would be nice to see market potentially break above and come into this daily supply. Now, looking at the 4 hour, what can we see? So, looking at market structure, you guys will be able to notice that we obviously had this 4 hour supply area yesterday. Was it Tuesday? Sorry, yeah, Tuesday, which played out. And then we failed to break any low. So yesterday we obviously had market inside of this demand area, but we were talking about the fact that we took out Asian high and we would see a candle close below. And then if that candle close below happened, we would have been looking for shorts. Now, as you guys can see, we didn't get that 1 hour or 4 hour candle close. You can see large wicks, and then we had this big candle here. So from a 4 hour, if you're looking at this, we do have, this area here as a 4 hour demand. We've got imbalance below, and we've got this low that we could use as liquidity. So first thought is from a 4 hour, potentially seeing this. Take up the low, fill in that imbalance, and then tap into that demand. Now, of course, if we go down to the 1 hour, we can obviously see that there's a different scenario. Now, again, we do have this 4 hour below, but also understand that we have, obviously had market start expanding during London today. So where market could potentially come back into from a 1 hour would be around this area for me. This area being our 1 hour demand. And obviously, if the 1 hour does carry on bullish, then that's exactly where I'd expect the market to potentially come back into as an entry model for the US dollar. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Let's see how market does react when we get into this demand area, or if it decides to come into this 4 hour and fill in that imbalance. Let's wait and see. Now going into Euro USD. Let's quickly go to the daily time frame, remove any of this noise as well. Daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, so as you guys can see from this supply area here, market is obviously started to descend. It started to obviously melt away a little bit. Nothing major, but it has been, shorting. From a daily perspective, we want to see either of these two areas met. You want to see this imbalance that we have down below here, or this imbalance here. We want to see that rebalanced. So ideally, we need to see some sort of market, structure going downwards. Now, again, if the dollar does go bullish, then that would align with obviously the major pairs going bearish. So that's one positive that we can look at. Now, going into the 4, you can see it's been pretty clean, Euro USD, from yesterday. You can see the fact that We have obviously talked about this supply. I can get rid of this noise here. We have this 4 hour supply area in which market came back into on Tuesday, and then we started to slowly move away. Now, for me personally, we obviously have, let me just show you guys here, this area as a 4 hour supply. This area of 4 hour supply here, this candle, market didn't quite tap into that supply area as you guys can see. Now, for me personally, it's going to be interesting to see how this next 4 hour candle finishes. But ideally, I would have liked to have seen, this area be where we got that market structure carry on shorting from. What we could have right now is a similar scenario to this. Can you see how when market came up here? Market obviously punched up above, failed to tap into the supply, and then we melted away. And the market eventually came back into this supply area, and then we had the true breaker structure of this low here happen. So could we see the same scenario with built up liquidity, early inducement, and then market decides to come back into that supply, and then obviously short away from there. Now, again, that does align with the 1 hour because we do have this 1 hour supply area here. So again, we have the 4 hour, or we have this 1 hour supply area here. So yeah, let's see. Let's see if that happens. Of course, the next scenario could potentially be if we don't come into this supply and the 1 hour just wants to carry on, with the supply areas and just shorting, we could have market come into this 1 hour supply area here. Now, of course, if, for instance, the dollar gives a reaction from this demand, then we could obviously see a reaction from this 1 hour supply. So either way, the two scenarios which I'm discussing is what we just talked about on the 4 or this one on the 1 hour as an entry model 2. Now, again, just understand we have Asian high, which hasn't been taken. We also have some imbalance left, and we have this 4 hour supply area. So definitely just keep an eye out on both areas. Okay, GBP/USD, let's have a look at what she's doing. Getting that movement down. Again, we're closer to this daily demand area than Euro USD at this moment. So you can see that market seems to be coming into around these areas, hopefully. Either one of these demands are the ones that I'm keeping an eye on. This is a valid demand for GU because we have obviously this pullback before market obviously expanded again. So let's keep an eye out on this daily. If we jump into the 4, you guys should be able to see that we have a clear 4 hour demand area. We have a little bit of imbalance. Let's just mark this out. Between this wick and this wick, just above that demand area as well. So everything seems to align at this moment with the daily and this 4. What is this doing? It's going to annoy me. But this daily and this 4 hour as well. So let's keep an eye on these two areas, this area, should I say, below. Now, of course, if you look at this right now, I'm not interested in, it's not that I'm not interested, I'm just being very aware because if, for instance, the dollar does come into this demand, then that obviously would potentially line up with a new 1 hour supply area here. If I zoom in, I obviously don't like the fact that we've not reacted out of anything here from a higher time frame. But what we have had is market obviously start to descend. This wick, where did we come back into? Well, you can see that we have this area of supply, which was not mitigated, this 1 hour supply. We took out these lows, filled in the little bit of imbalance that we left. If I just zoom in, you can see that 1 hour supply, slight imbalance below, and take out these highs. And that's obviously give us that move, away. Now, of course, next scenario for me would be, hopefully you guys can see, started at imbalance this area as my next 1 hour supply area. So that does align with the dollar. Now, of course, if GU is kind enough to us, we could obviously see this scenario come into this 1 hour supply, and then obviously start to see that next movement down. And again, hopefully that could be eventually into this 4 hour demand area that we do have. NZUSD clean from the 1 hour supply this morning during Asian. We'll talk about that in a second. But as you guys can see, we're starting to get closer into this demand area down below. We're obviously bullish, as you guys can see from here. So, from a scenario of the daily, we just want to see market come into this and then potentially go and create that next daily higher high. if we jump into the four, what can we see? Well, from the 4 hour, the only demand area that I'm interested in at this moment in time is the one below here. Now, again, that is a very, very long way away. So, with that, are we going to get into this, or are we going to have the same scenario which we've seen multiple times over on the 4 hour with NU, where we don't quite tap in, as we discussed yesterday, we don't quite tap into these demands, and then it just goes. So let's see. It'll be interesting to see what happens if we can get into these areas, or as you guys, might guess, we might just come into the daily and not into the lower parts of the four. Because if you look at the daily demand areas, they are clean. Look, we mitigate the daily demands, but the 4 hours we don't. So again, this is upon you guys to go, okay, we've mitigated that daily. Now can we find an entry? Does this make sense? Like if I just put this on to the daily time frames, the hourly time frames, sorry, you should be able to see what I am talking about. If you go to the four now, look, we seem to tap into them daily demands, and then we get this move away. We tap into that daily demand, but not the four, and then we get that move away. So ideally, what I'm trying to discuss is if we don't come into this forward demand, it might just be this daily demand area. Hopefully, that is making sense. Now, from NZUSD, if we carry on shorting, again, we've shorted from this 1 hour supply this morning. We filled in that 1 hour supply, which originally did start at this imbalance. One second, this imbalance started here, but of course, I've just gone off the body to tighten it up. Now, at this moment in time, this is pretty corrective. There's not much to really discuss. Maybe if I just cut the time frame in half, you guys can see a little bit clearer that when we had this move away, markets come back where? Into this 30 and 15 minute supply area, gone away again. Where are we currently at this moment? Well, as you guys can see, we're currently inside of this 30 minute. If you go down to the 15, you can refine that to this 15 minute area here. So if market's just going to carry on shorting, it will be from this area at this moment in time. So let's see what happens. Everything is corrective on that 1 hour. I'm expecting basically NU just to carry on shorting. If it breaks this low again, hopefully there should be another opportunity from a 1 hour perspective to participate in a selling scenario, just as we have had here as this 1 hour supply. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. AUD USD, this 1 hour demand area which we discussed yesterday, obviously played out perfectly. Now, of course, if we just quickly go to the daily before anything, before we start to obviously go on a tangent, let's have a look at this quickly. Remove these. 1 second, guys. Okay, so daily, we're still inside that supply. We haven't broke above that supply at this moment in time. So, can we see some sort of market, go obviously bearish right now? That would align with obviously the dollar going bullish. So with AUD USD, we're inside this supply. We've got this demand area below, which we can obviously target. We've got imbalance that's just above that as well, in which we can obviously look for. Now, going into the 4 hour is pretty corrective here. All this is pretty corrective. We have this 4 hour demand area which we're approaching right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from this 4 hour demand. Now, of course, if we go lower and we break these lows, we do have this 4 hour demand area below here. We have this imbalance to fill below here. So, depending on where the dollar is at, that is going to be something that I'm going to keep an eye on. But like I said, we are coming into this 4 hour demand. If I jump into the one, you can see that at this moment in time, I've got it marked up on my other one. We have entry model 1 for Asian. And what that means is this is aligning perfect or has aligned perfectly with the dollar. Dollar might still should come back into this 1 hour demand. But if you go to AU, what can you see that's happened? Well, you can see that's happened. Asian highs are taken. Markets have started to break out, pull back into the supply. And now I'm expecting market to just carry on shorting. Now, again, that could be carry on shorting lower or just into this demand. But that is trade that I've been looking at this morning. And as you can see, it's playing out perfectly at this moment in time. Again, if you go down to the 13 and 15, we might have still some room because of this imbalance to come and fill a little bit more. So if the dollar decides to come into this 1 hour demand, we come back in and then go again. That could align with, this imbalance being filled inside of this 1 hour supply area for AUD USD. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Now going into USD CAD. USD CAD, as you guys, will know, we've obviously had this bullishness. We've come into this daily supply area, still in this daily supply area, and it's obviously just been consolidating at this moment in time. Now, again, if we jump into the 4 hour has been bullish. It has been, bullish. Now, my only thing is when we look at the dollar, if the dollar's going to carry on bullish, then we expect USD CAD to carry on bullish, of course. Like if you look at USD CAD, now it's about, okay, where can we come into? Because we should break this high if the US dollar carries on bullish. So again, that is just one scenario that you've got to understand, even though we're in this daily supply. Now, looking at the 4 hour is, like I said, bullish. We still have this 4 hour demand area below here. Which I haven't mitigated. This has been a more of a 1 hour trend. So this is one scenario, imbalance above 4 hour demand, where we could obviously look for buys from. But from a 1 hour perspective, at this moment in time, you guys can probably see it is ugly, but the 1 hour is in control. So for me, I don't look at this as something to trade from right now. If we carry on bullish and we get a break above these highs, then there might be a new opportunity for a demand area to participate in USD CAD. But yeah, at this moment in time, nothing clear from a 1 hour or 4 hour with USD CAD. Hopefully, that makes sense to you guys as well. Now, USD CHF, go to the daily time frame. Let's just quickly remove these because they annoy me. There's one more daily, weekly, and monthly. Okay. You can see it aligns perfectly, as we mentioned on the other daily market outlooks, with the dollar. We're reacting out of a demand. We're trying to come into a supply. Same with USD CHF. We're reacting out of a demand. We're trying to come into a new supply. So perfectly aligned up. We're expecting bullishness to carry on. If you jump into the 4, you can see that it's been more of a 1 hour. We just hide this. We have a 4 hour demand here and a 4 hour demand here. We haven't quite had that pullback. So, we haven't had market come back in and then go again. We could still have that, of course. But at this moment in time, if we look from a 1 hour, you can see that the 1 hour has just been, trading and trending perfectly. We broke above. We come back into this 1 hour demand. We've gone bullish again. We come back below, tapped into this 1 hour demand area here, and we started to go bullish again. Now, extremely consolidating at this moment in time, which is worrying because when we consolidate, what are we building up? We're building up liquidity either side. Either side. So for me, I'm just very aware that what could happen, it'd be nice if we could just get a nice bullish reaction, for instance, and then we could have a new demand area and we could try and look to trade. But just be extremely aware of the fact that we have, extremely slow, horrible looking candles from here. But look at the 30-minute just quickly. Yeah, just be aware. But again, if you want, follow what the dollar is telling us, and then that might help you out with USD CHF, USD CAD, and obviously the other major pairs as well. But other than that, guys, that is your daily market outlook for today. I appreciate every single person who tunes into these, as always. I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. Take care and God bless.